I am very excited today because we have some amazing sound healers with us, and I know you're going to have lots of questions for them. I'm excited for them to tell you a little bit more about them, and I know that you know a lot of them. I mean, some of them need no introduction. We won't go into that. But I am going to get started. And I am going to start from the bottom and have everyone introduce themselves. So, Fatima, I am going to start with you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this beautiful moment. My name is Fátima. I'm from Portugal and I have been on Inside Timer since 2019. I'm very happy to be here. I'm not sure if I should share something else, but maybe just in a nutshell, my background. I am a professional musician for more than 20 years, and I started doing personal development more than 10 years ago. And now I'm a sound healer, a handpan player. I'm a professional pianist, composer, and producer. So it's really beautiful to be here with all these amazing and inspiring people. Some of them I already saw the lives, and it's very, very warming. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. Wow, that's an impressive background, too. Susie, I am going to move over to you.
Sure, tough act to follow. I'm Susie Sands. It's so great to be here with all of you. Thank you, Violet and Melanie, for hosting us. And I have been here on Insight Timer since also 2019, and I've been working in sound healing and energy healing for quite some time. And it's always wonderful to share with this community here. And I'm happy to be with all of you today. Thank you.
And I want to point out that Susie is a neighbor. She's also in New York. And I actually got to meet her for the first time last month. We went to a sound healing event for Geraldine Glass, who I know, Susie, you learned from, and she's amazing. And it was my first time seeing her in person, and I was speechless. All right, Ada and Nathan Wakes.
Hello.
Hi. Yes, I'm Ada. This is Nathan, and we go by Wakes, and we're married. We're a couple that got into, well, really our relationship started with music at the heart. We met singing, we met Christmas caroling, and our first date, we shared music, we shared songs that we had written. And I think, insofar as sound healing and our journey with it, I would say, like, for both of us, going way back, we were young people that processed our lives and our emotions and our physical experience through music. I was definitely someone that sang to myself a lot and just had this relationship with music that was so cathartic and so powerful and so healing. And then, we both did our own like musical things, being in bands and so forth. But I feel like in our coming together, our journeys with yoga, exposure to different influences and teachers, kind of, I feel like our togetherness helped us jump into this work and maybe a lot of encouragement from life. And we've kind of developed our own style of sound baths and immersive kind of musical experiences that we hope are a part of a healing process for the people that experience them.
Yeah, we use a lot of our voices and lyrics from songs that we write, and I think we're really interested in music's special power to light up so much of our inner world, so we get to discover so much more about who we are.
Yeah, and our name's Wakes, and that's kind of hearkening to this opportunity for awakening that we really feel is so possible through music, the power of music.
So grateful to be here. Thank you.
Oh gosh, I'm thrilled to have you here. I remember, being on Inside Timer and seeing you for the first time and was like, who are these amazing people? Like, you always had 400 or 500 people in attendance and your music was just amazing. Like I was mesmerized. So I'm thrilled to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks
for having us.
Absolutely. And James, moving on to you.
Good morning from sunny Santa Barbara, California. My name is James, and I'm a classically trained composer. I spent many years, I started on Insight Timer in 2016. Prior to that, I spent many years writing what I would call academic, very complex music. And because that was part of the journey in the circle I was running in at the time. And one day I woke up and said, I really don't want to do this anymore. Frankly, because the music was just ugly and too complex for most listeners to appreciate or derive really much benefit from. So I really made a quantum shift at some point years ago to try and determine from what I knew how to do, how could I make that of something of benefit to others as they listen to it, and have arrived here after a number of years. So it's been a fun ride. Along the way, I was marketing communications director for several companies, one of which was in the music industry by the name of Gibson Guitar. So here I am. Thanks so much for being here and having me here.
Absolutely. And I always love to mention this when I'm around James, that his floating track has 18 million hits. And I am definitely a million of those. So thank you for being here.
Thank
And
you.
Cory.
Hi, I'm Cory from North Plains, Oregon. Not so sunny here at the time, but my journey with Insight Timer started when I lived at a inn and spa down in Detroit, Oregon. It's actually a hot springs called Brighton Bush Hot Springs, and I've walked the path of chronic illness most of my life, and always looking for different ways of healing myself. And I was really inspired by the river that runs through there, Brighton Bush River. So I did a recording of that, and then just got really interested in isochronic tones and binaural beats and how they can act as frequency medicine and ability to kind of shift one's state into a more healing state. And so I was inspired to find music that complemented the sounds of the water, embedded these frequencies, had such an amazing experience with it, and shared the album with others that were part of the Brighton Bush community at the time, and they experienced really profound shifts as well. So I found Insight Timer, I guess, 2 years later in 2020, and started my journey on Insight Timer to just help share what we can experience when we heal through sounds and frequencies. And it's really grateful and great to be here.
Awesome to have you here. I don't think I ever told you this, Cory, but the first time I heard one of your tracks, I was going through some serious sciatic pain and that's how I found you. And I was hooked. Amazing stuff. So thank you. Thank you, all of you, for being here with us. And I am going to go over to Melanie, who is going to direct questions at this amazing panel. And I'm going to sit back and be quiet and enjoy.
Well, thank you guys for joining. And I just want to say that I think it's amazing that you guys are all here. And Wakes, I think I started listening to you when you had 300 followers. And yes, it was pretty amazing. And I think it's a small world because Ada and I have a friend in common that we never knew. And so we saw something on Facebook that we had like written. And Susie is my neighbor, literally. And I met Susie because I started listening to her on Insight Timer, and then realized she lives very close to me and is a very good friend of mine today. So the power of so many things, but definitely music and community. So actually, nobody's written in the chat yet their questions, but I was thinking about this when you guys were speaking about the power of music. And then Cory, you kind of answered this a little bit when you were speaking about your journey with pain. And then I was thinking about James's track having 18 million listens, and many of you guys do. I mean, last night we have family visiting. I played The Tallest Tree, and I from Wakes, and I said, this might sound morbid, but if you know me, you know it isn't. I want that played at my funeral. And it's a song that my husband doesn't understand because it's so deep and powerful in its messaging. And so how did that come to be for all of you? You know, music is so powerful. Words, not words. You know, Cory, you spoke about your chronic illness, but what was really your driving factor to get where you are today? Susie?
I'll go first, sure. That's a great question. And for me, it wasn't quite a driving factor, but the flow of life. And I mean that genuinely, because I feel like every little tiny moment that is a part of me since childhood, since birth, and since before and beyond, has been a part of this path to sound healing. And I know that it's continuing to expand, continuing to grow, and also an invitation for everyone here to continue to step into the unknown, to say yes to the things that make you so uncomfortable, because we're constantly building circuits. We're constantly, in a sense, electrifying our body and preparing for something that we don't know. And that truly has been my path towards sound healing and continues to be my path to everything that I'm participating in. So yeah, I would say that it found me, and I am grateful to the universe for allowing that to flow into my life, because it's been so fun.
Well, Susie, can I prod a little bit more?
Sure.
Just but what was the leap? Where were you? How did you say, I'm gonna play crystal bowls?
Yeah, so that moment in time was after a reading with Marianne DeMarco, who's a medium, and she had given me this moment of, Susie, it is time. I had done some work with her as well as a student, and she said, it's time to do healing. You are a healer. And I said to the universe, literally, I said, okay, I know, but what? And then I was in a deep rabbit hole scroll on Instagram, and I found Geraldine Glass, who was playing the singing bowls. And in that moment in time, it was like, wow, what is this, and how can I do it? And I just stepped right in that moment. So that was the moment in time.
Anybody else? Wakes.
Well, I'll jump in. Or go ahead. Go ahead.
You go, Jim.
Yeah, I just was
Go
going to
ahead, you.
share that for me, I grew up playing music in my church, and I think that while that's not a context that I continue to engage in on a regular basis, it still has a heart. It taught me something about connecting to something larger than myself, connecting to uh, sharing music in a community first and foremost is a really powerful thing. Singing with other people, I think is really an incredible experience. And Ed and I both grew up singing in choirs and got to travel with the choir that we both happened to be in our hometown, like to Europe and sing in cathedrals and things. So I think that there's something really profound in music's ability to kind of crack us open to have shared experiences, as well as to kind of create some fluidity between these capacities for different levels of consciousness, that we can tune in to something that's uniquely personal to us. We can have a shared experience in a group, listening to music, dancing, or we can connect to something beyond ourselves with up in that kind of cosmic consciousness space. And so for me, that's just been a really transformative place for me, a place of self-discovery. And yeah, it's been with me since the very beginning. I don't remember it ever not being such an important part of my life. So I love the opportunity. I feel so blessed to get to spend so much time doing it.
Thank you. James?
To pick up on something I was saying before a little bit, I did have a habit as a composer, and having gone through many years of education on that topic, I found that I had a practice of being extremely detail oriented. And as I approached creating something, I would feel compelled to have an outline, a fairly detailed outline of where I wanted to start, where things went from there, how I wanted to end and develop and end it. And I was in that pattern. And one day I said, I have so much of this, and as a result of going through that process, I really don't like any of it. I had dozens and dozens of scores, and I threw them all away. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it. And came to the point where I said, what if I just sit down and get being a good Buddhist, get the monkey mind chatter stopped, as best as I can and just see what happens and what am I going to receive in that moment. And since then, it's developed into this practice, if you want to call it, where if I sit down and I'm writing something and I don't write real quickly. If I go a couple of 3 hours and I'm tired and I need to go do something else and stop for the day and then pick it up the next day, I really have no idea what I'm doing next. And that sounds self-deprecating, but it's not. I just pick up on listening to what I had done before and see what strikes me. It could be a totally different direction than what I thought I would do the day prior, but that's okay. And I found that that's, for me, a more authentic, more genuine approach. So that's how I've come to this point. And it's really the other part of where I found myself these days is that I've quickly picked up on the fact that, wow, this really is doing something for someone else other than myself. And people are using it for a variety of purposes. In large part, a lot of my listeners are sleep deprived chronically. Many others use it in support of a variety of somatic practices. So it's become something that has just been so much more joyful rather than, I would say before, tedious in many ways. So that and the companionship and the developing relationships within the community on Insight Timers, it's been a wonderful two-way street.
That's beautiful. Cory or Fatima, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I come from a background similar to James, a classical background, and I always felt that what I was doing was not my personality, or I could not put myself. I thought, how can I be, someone can listen to me and knows that it's me. How can I create my personality in music? And then, just like Susie was saying, things started to unfold. I was, trying unknown styles, rock, pop, covers, originals, all the kind of bands and many different things. And I got to this point in 2016 when I started doing meditation music, and I really felt how the music background could empower the guided voice. And instead of and I started feeling that some guided meditations that had, a little noise on the microphone and a little thing, they kind of were strange for me. I am very auditive. The breaking point for me was when I started, for some time already, I was sharing these things to people in a channeled way. And I started thinking, this can be together, music, what I do in music, and this healing that is happening, these messages that are happening, they can be together. And when I started studying sound healing, and I could see that, for example, through the tuning forks, I was not only aligning chakras, but I was also bringing messages. And when they say, it's that, and everybody says it's that, and there is something here, and I want to dive deeper into that. So it's like someone calling you all the time, and if you don't do it, you are losing a purpose, or you are losing a piece inside yourself. So I feel it's a mix, between something you love, in this case music. We all here we are very auditive, and at the same time the purpose of I'm here to do something else to the community. And I feel also, especially in the last years, maybe since COVID, I feel that we have more need to step out and do more sound baths, do more healing, be more for people, share more. And the words just came out easily. The notes just come. When I was seeing Wakes live a few days ago, I could feel this is just, they are just channeling. So when this channeling happens, you should not stop it. So let it be. That will be.
Yeah. I'll just continue just a bit of I guess that story to round this one out, which is even though my chronic illness is not pain, when I was at Brighton Bush, I had a friend who did suffer from chronic pain, and as I was getting into understanding how frequencies can be medicine, I designed a track for her out of a sense of compassion, right? Like, this is so interesting to go to James's, idea of Buddhism, right? To that even though Buddha was about ending suffering, he was also about compassion, which means to suffer with. So that's an interesting paradox, and it shows the nature of our hearts that we may achieve enlightenment, but we can't leave everyone behind. That doesn't it doesn't work, for us on the path. So I think all the sound healers come from that place of like um, we can't not share what we believe will help or heal. And so I designed that track to activate the endocannabinoid system, which I was also learning about, which is a fascinating thing that spirituality also points to, this idea of Satchitananda, right? Being consciousness, bliss. Oh, we can actually activate our bliss body through music, through sounds, through states of our brain being more passive than active. And suddenly a seeming magic from what comes in a sense of energy can take us over and has a profound chance to change our physiology, as we know through the research done with cannabis, that these cannabinoids can really have a profound effects on cancer and our cellular health. And what's interesting about cannabinoids is we make them ourselves. Our body makes something called anandamide, right? Which is bliss molecule. So if we use sound as a method of healing, we can access things that go beyond the mind and thoughts realm and activate a different sense of being. I think that is what drove me into wanting to share this stuff.
I just want to jump in there and say that is the best explanation I have ever heard. Thank you for that.
And also, I just want to throw out there to everybody what, Fatima said about it's a calling and you were doing what you were called to do. And sort of you were saying, if I didn't do this, I'm not being true to myself. That applies to no matter what you do. That's something that I bring to my lives every day because I do that through food. And I really always encourage people to do the same thing for themselves, because that's when you'll be living in such a beautiful space. Okay, we have some, yes, Wakes. Wait, you're mute, okay.
I just wanted to jump in on that as well, just as far as like this journey to get here. And I don't know, for someone that's like really loved singing and wanted to be in music, like since I was, in my 5th grade school play as the lead, whatever. I feel like the like professionalization of music creates so many limiting beliefs for so many of us that have this desire to express ourselves in this way, or to use our voice, or to use the instruments that we might like to explore to kind of process our lives. And I think for me, like the journey with sound healing that maps from before, but there's something like more intuitive for me with it, with this sense of like flow of expression and not needing to be perfect, and kind of creating that space of allowing an emergence for others. And I think too, there's something for me around like this shift of the type of listening that we can have with music. There's one way we interact with music where it's around us, it's like in the elevator, it's in the coffee shop, and it's so great, it's impacting us. But then there's something else when we really tune in, like when we really listen, when we go into the headphones and we're like noticing all the textures and noticing how it resonates in us and noticing this like beautiful interaction, and how powerfully it shifts our physiology. So for me, I think like knowing from little me that so intuitively used music as the language of emotion to help myself express my emotions and feel them and process them and move them. Like it's so cool to be able to share that with others so that others can self-regulate and feel like that physiological somatic power that music has, but with so much intention that I think comes with all the spaces that everyone here is trying to create, with this deep listening, this dual listening of listening to what we're hearing, but then as much listening like deep inside our hearts and our bodies, and listening like what's really like here for me to hear. And so I think that's been like a powerful motivator as like our path in sound healings unfolded, and just this music as the language of emotion, and how amazing that is to interact with and share.
Thank you. That ties actually very closely into a question that Bethany asked, which is how did your passion for music merge with spirituality? You can unmute yourself if you want to answer that. Cory?
Yeah, I think just starting to listening to meditative music, which could be found on Inside Timer and YouTube, to know that music could be used in such a way, which I think is a lot of what I've been hearing about our shared stories, is we let go of a compositional mind about things, a mind that wants to structure and measure reality and make it into an exacting math and science, versus the art of simply being and intuiting and using that mode of our being, that suddenly when we connect to that space, which is not of the nature of what we can measure, right? We can't, what is the weight of a thought? What is the depth and breadth of how much we love one another, right? Those things can't be measured. They can't be put onto a sense of how we compose music. And I think in a traditional way, oftentimes there has to be a poetry involved. So I think when I sat down, the idea that music had to be commercial, right, or needed to have a certain form or structure, suddenly then a whole different way of interacting with sound became available.
I was hearing the Rent song, 525,600 minutes. You know, the like, how do you measure a year? How do you measure all these things that make life meaningful? Shout out to the Rent composers.
I saw Susie's hand up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that for me, the second that I received my first crystal alchemy singing bowl was when I was able to really just step into the sound healing part. And music had always been an expression for me. I wouldn't say that I am a musician in the way that others on here have described their history, but it's always been a part of my life through singing, through playing briefly. But it became an expression and a modality that I can now work through with healing. And it was important to me to step into the energy healing part, and to have this modality is wonderful. But I know, and we all are healers of our own, and that's part of the work too, is inviting people into their own power. And I did see a question about, I don't know who wrote it, but about CMF and about chronic fatigue. And I just wanted, can I mention something about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask that to everybody, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there because I don't know if everybody saw it. It was from Cindy, who said, I'm interested in your opinion on chronic fatigue syndrome. This is a disease where any and all stimulation can worsen symptoms. I have been unable to listen to music I love since contracting this illness. If no experience with this disorder, I understand.
Yeah. So I think my invitation to you, and maybe it's something you've tried already, is to begin the music from within and allow your expressions to start to come through. One easy tool that we all have is humming in our own voice. And it's really, really powerful. And we don't need a bowl, we don't need an instrument. It's beautiful to have those modalities, but we truly are the healers. And so I would invite you to just breathe into those spaces that are alive for you. And I know, Melanie, you've done humming before, probably everyone on here has, but it's really taking any sound, being almost that childlike joy and wonder, and just having your voice come alive, and any sound that comes out is good. But tuning into how that feels within and where you're feeling it, and just spending some loving, tender time in that space. And it slowly builds and it changes every day and every time. And that's part of the healing. And then maybe as you continue to do that, maybe other music will become a bit friendlier to your body along the way.
And I'm going to add to that, not that I am a sound healer, but if you following my journey, that you know that it's very important to me, because I was diagnosed with cancer and I reached out to Susie, and Susie said, you know, there's so many studies about humming, and she recommended a book, and I started humming. And I also had a surgery where it was removed, but I am cancer free right now. And I know that sound played a huge role in that. And there are a lot of studies, because I'm really into science, about the power of the human voice and the power of sound to heal. So if you're in this watching, I would encourage you to do research and do what resonates with you. But I pulled up one study when Susie was talking that it said, and I can, if anybody wants the link, I can share it later, but it says in a study on sound waves and cancer cells, it was found that gongs destroyed cancer cells in 14 minutes, and the human voice achieved the same in 9 minutes.
Thanks for sharing that, Melanie.
Does anybody else want to have any feelings on Cindy's question? And it's okay if you don't. I mean, there's a lot of questions related to healing that came from people. Karen also asked, is there a difference in the healing derived from listening to music compared to making music? Cory?
Could you?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. James, go ahead.
No. I could you repeat that question?
Yes. Hold on one second. Is there a difference in the healing derived from listening to music compared to making music?
Well, for me, in my personal experience of listening and creating, to me, it's really two sides of the same coin. Listening to music is transformative, and so is creating it, and they're transformative in their approach. But listening, for me, is kind of a two-way street, because music can make you feel different, but how you feel to begin with can also make how you listen to music different, if you get my drift. So they're very much commingled. The creative aspect of it, to jump back a little bit on your question about when did spirituality and music come out to play together for me, that was years ago, and it was very, very almost imperceptibly incremental. And I started very early on, just observing, whether it was at a rock concert or at an orchestral event, or something as nuts as a barbershop quartet. But what was the commonality in all those experiences? And really, the commonality for me was that, wow, just observing something is changing in all these people around me as I'm sitting here. And what is it? Well, I've come over the years to believe that it is this dimension of spirit that is somehow interlocked with that creation. I mean, they're indivisible. And I found in more recent years, say in the last 10, 15 years, that spirit as a dimension, as an essential critical dimension of health, is very real. And as a matter of fact, it's how my partner Constance and I came together. We shared that, and she has authored a course in spiritual health on that very topic, and it's been around in California schools for 20 years now. But so that's how it came. And again, from observation of her classes, teaching this class, she would have students from 18 to 90 years old. And we would play some music in a course module. And the transformation was astounding across such a broad spectrum of age. So, I mean, that's how those things became so intermingled for me. So I'll stop.
Else?
I thought Cory was going to say something before.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good to move to the next question. I love what Susie said. That kind of captured what I was going after, and James as well. Thank you.
Okay.
I was just about to share that when you were speaking, I was feeling the example of a mentor that is also mentored. And I kind of feel that when I'm doing music, I have these moments in which I want to give. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm, you are channeling. You are even in any areas of your life. There are these moments in which you are in the zone, and it's so powerful, even for yourself. You get to the end of a session, and you feel. You can also feel release in some way because you feel you did your purpose, and you are also receiving and giving. And just the same way a mentor is a giver, he also receives mentoring, and he also has the moment to receive. So we can have those both moments. And I feel a lot that when we are givers, we just surrender to the moment, and we just it's a light that happens at that moment. I don't know, but I feel the example of the mentor allows to imagine for who is not a musician. Although as musicians or sound healers, we even when we are singing, we are being in some way musicians. There are so many musicians out there that never had academic school, and they are wonderful. So anyone here can be a beautiful musician and singer. And the thing is, we can give and receive and enjoy both paths if we know what we are feeling right now, we are needing right now, or what is our intention right now. So I welcome everyone to give and to receive. It can be music, it can be a message, it can be sharing, it can be something that comes out of the blue, a dance. Sometimes we just do something, funny, and we make something laugh, and we already made the day of the other person. So I will bring giving and receiving in this question of listening and making music.
Thank you. Wakes?
I just wanted to add, I love that you're talking about that flow state, and I think music is such a beautiful opportunity, a beautiful invitation to either the musician who is kind of like attuning themselves to what they want to play next, and to the audience who's just attuning themselves to what is coming next. And it opens up something in us where we can let go of that preference mind that wants to control or predict or hang on, and just invites us into an easy flow. That's what I was thinking about when you were talking, Fatima. So thank you for that.
That really ties in to something that Carrie said. She said the whole idea of sound and frequency is so interesting. I love it. How do you all feel? How much that helps your music heal others?
I don't know. This is kind of funny to me, but so Nathan and I guess we never said that we've been doing this for about 8 years, and got on Insight Timer, and at the very end of 2020, pandemic was that real shift into the online space. But before that, we were touring and playing in yoga studios and different spaces, and For me, maybe I hope I'm understanding the question correctly, but there's this suspension you have to do between some outcome that you hope or some idea that you're trying to perceive in someone else, especially with a sound bath. We have people laying there, their eyes are closed, and Nathan and I would, we're moving around the room, we're singing, we're doing all these things, and you kind of come close to someone and your rational mind, your fear mind can come in and be like, oh, they hate this. They think this is so weird. You could be just projecting onto them your own discomfort, your own fear, your uncertainty, because
Nobody's clapping.
because normally when you sing or perform, you get some feedback, like they're nodding their heads or they're smiling at you or something that makes you feel like, okay, yeah, they're liking it. And in this, you're not offering it there just to be liked or just so that they relax. Like you're welcoming them into this journey. So for me, this experience of coming to understand that I don't always know what's going on for someone. Someone might come up to us afterwards with some incredibly powerful experience or reflection or realization, awakening. And I could have looked at them and thought, wow, they're just, trying to get through this or something. And I think that really showed me that everyone's on their own internal journey. Even when we play folk songs, sometimes like we'll be sharing these vulnerable songs and people's faces are like,
it's like torture.
Yeah, you're just like, oh gosh, really they're just in some relationship with their own emotions. And sometimes when we're really in the moment, we're not being aware of how we look and how we're projecting out to someone else. So I guess that's been a learning for me to release that and to know that, like, we say this a lot, but we're all like our own instrument in the world. We all carry our life experiences, our stories, and the way that this sound, this tone, this frequency, this mantra we sing, this song that we play resonates in you is going to be different. Like The Tallest Tree is a song that meets people in just this multiplicity of ways, with their memories, with their life experiences, with what that evokes in them from one moment to the other. And so I think there's something really, really beautiful about that, and the releasing of kind of knowing how it's meeting someone. And it's also kind of comical in the sound bath space sometimes, where you're still a human doing it and making that shift from performance where you get feedback to no feedback. It was an adjustment.
Yeah. No, that's I agree completely. And it's like Nathan was saying, I think, it's part of it is our expectations for the number of years that we've been doing this. In the old world, for me, you go to a concert, the song is over, the symphony's over, and everybody claps, right? Which is great. And that's our expectation based on that experience. But I wish I could tell you, I don't know enough people with enough fingers and toes to describe the number of folks who listen to something like Floating, and they make a comment and they say, you know what? I think that was probably really good, but I can't tell you for sure because I fell asleep before it was over. And in years past, I would relate that to old friends that I'm still in touch with from the classical or academic world. And they'd say, are you kidding me? How insulting. And I said, man, you don't get it. It's not insulting at all. It's not insulting at all. I'm there for them. They received a benefit from something I've done, and that's enough. So it is expectations, for sure.
And the funny thing is that in the sound bath, you not only have people not reacting, you have people falling asleep. Sometimes even before you started playing the crystal balls, because you are doing some kind of relaxation at the beginning and you can feel them. So it's deeper than, right, Ada? It's deeper than just not having a reaction. They are sleeping, and now we need to trust that they are believing in everything that they are receiving, all the vibration they are receiving, and also the state in which they feel when they wake up. Because sometimes they don't want to wake up after the sound bath. We need to kind of reinforce the moment in a subtle way. So it's very interesting, that point.
Cory.
Well, I wanted to kind of distinguish these two. There's kind of two modes maybe that we're all sharing and can differentiate of kind of this healing offering, right? And so one is, and I'm seeing some of the comments about like what frequencies are good for this or that, like migraine. So one could go to pubmed.org and actually research like brainwave entrainment and sound therapy and light therapy. And that's really what got me into the creative mode, is seeing that there's actual science that shows that, for example, like 40 hertz gamma can help one with Alzheimer's or some of the more problematic tendencies of brain inflammation and things like that. And so we can apply kind of this mono frequency method to address our state and to help induce physiological state change that may provide some healing benefit. But there's also, like James is talking and Wakes and Ada said so beautifully, like there's also a journey aspect, right? That a whole piece, a whole composition composed of many different frequencies. I mean, anybody who's been to a sound bath and as soon as they get the gong out, right? And suddenly it hits a different part of yourself that just isn't touched by anything else that music can offer, because it's just so wild and sometimes dissonant and just reaches deep down within beyond our typical conscious mind to touch something that needed to be touched or seen. So I think there's these two different modes, and they both have very different means of healing, but also incredibly both valid.
I just want to I just want to jump in response to that, Cory. I think I was hoping to kind of have this conversation with the different teachers here, but there's such an interesting tension in the sound healing space around this very like prescriptive approach to sound healing and a more organic, artistic, intuitive approach. And I don't know, sometimes we'll have people like once someone reached out to us and they were like, how are your instruments tuned? Like, are they tuned in this way versus that way? And like, I heard it was bad to, listen to music in this tuning. And for me, I have a little bit of a like prickliness around the like over prescription that people want to apply, like this tone for this exact thing, or like this note for this exact chakra. Because I don't know if it feels like it taps into that desire, like of
Fix me already.
yeah, if I could just, have the magic pill, then I could be fixed, when I feel like it's a much more holistic thing, this conversation with ourselves of noticing what resonates with us. And I'm sure, I know that there's, real science out there around different things, and there's so much more to be explored. But I find that sometimes in this space, people want to really go to like 1 + 1 = 2. And that's, if I know that, then I can cure that or fix that. And at least for us in our style of sound healing, we're like super not in that space. One, because we don't have all of that information. But two, I just feel like my instinct is that it's just so much more complex than that. So I'd love to open up that conversation about these two modes and what's possible, and kind of this desire for a science that isn't totally there. It hasn't been done fully, but there are some things that lead us in a direction, and this desire of the human mind to want solutions. So chime in. Let's go there.
Well, I'm going to chime in because I love science and I love music. And my dad was a music teacher. And I think for me, I like it because other people do need it. Because I'm very intuitive, but people will say, but how do you know? And I'm like, I can't tell you how I know, but I know. Right. And I think that music brings a lot of that forth. But I do think that people want to see that. And I also think, has anybody ever been to a bad sound bath? Susie has, Melanie has, right? So I don't know if it's the science of it or what, but I think sometimes people who are giving sound baths aren't aware that they're giving a bad sound bath, because the tension they're creating is not so great for the receiver. And they're not even sure, I think, that how they're creating that tension. And so I don't know if that's the science part of it or just it's more than intuition. For a lot of people, I've been noticing it happening a lot more. And I think it's because a lot more people are coming into the sound bath space. And so that's for me where I'm like, where is this weaving, right? Does this person need a little training or a little more intuition? And you guys are all shaking your heads, yes.
Both.
And I can honestly say this because sound is my go-to for meditating, for healing, for everything. I'm not really listening to other types of things other than sound baths.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. It has been in doing what I've been doing lately. The prescriptive dimension, I can appreciate it immensely. I just like Ada said, I don't have enough information. I feel like some days I want to know more and some days I don't. But for my personal approach, I really have found that what seems to accomplish what I want to accomplish, which ultimately is support of the listener and an additional presence for the listener. I find myself developing this technique where, again, it's about expectations. In classical music, you developed a melody or a theme, call it what you will, and it goes somewhere. It develops. It evolves. What I'm doing more often than not is the opposite of that. I'll have these little snippets of a melody, little proto melodies, and they don't go anywhere, but they do interweave with other little snippets. And as a listener, you're drawn to this, and then you're drawn to this another thing, and then you're drawn to another thing, and you want to follow them all, but you can't. And what ultimately happens is you get tired, and that helps clear out the monkey mind. It helps with your presence, and you're listening to this thing, which is sort of like a watercolor wash, where you're just washing over what you've done, and again, and each time in a different way. And each time these little proto things relate to each other in a different way. And it's too much to consume. And I found that over time, a listener will, after say 15 minutes, be focused. After an hour, likely they'll be asleep. But to me, that is, I hate to say, I mean, I'm reluctant to say that's a more organic approach than prescriptive, but it just seems to work for me. And I don't want to sound like I'm slamming magic frequencies. And I want to believe and know that they're there. I just don't yet.
I just want to make a distinction too. And I said prescriptive, it wasn't like around whether someone's trained or kind of has the self-awareness about how to use their tools or hold the space, but more about like, yeah, what James was saying there at the end, like this note has this effect, or this hertz has this effect. That's kind of what I mean by prescriptive. Like if we could break music down into like pill form or something. And I'm also not saying that there isn't anything to that. It's just that it does feel like these different tracks. And sometimes the way people want to latch onto that is really strong because it feels like, oh, I can make sense of it. And because I think there's so many different ways that we use sound healing. Like we sing a lot. Some people are like really annoyed that we sing and we use words, and they're expecting the sound healing music to be like, I don't want to hear words, or I don't. But for us, we're using mantra where we have this one. Other people want ambient. And so I think that maybe it's just a conversation with so many layers about these different approaches. But I wanted to make that distinction on prescriptive as in like not about whether someone's trained or not, or is able to hold that space.
And that's not what I meant. I'm sorry, Susie, I'm going to do 1 second. I don't feel like actually people have to be trained in anything, because sometimes people just come to it and they know it. And then someone did ask in the chat, like, is it bad because of some association that you've had? But no, because I love music. It's bad because it's for me. Somebody else might be loving it. You know what I mean? Like I don't love certain types of music because to me it's too to whatever. Susie.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation to bring up, Wakes, and it always leaves me curious too. So I'm happy you brought it up. I actually think we're kind of in this like parallel universe in a sense where we have science and we have the prescriptive. We don't even know what sound is doing yet. We do not know the true measurement and power of what is taking place. And there are a few studies that exist that say a certain sound can kill a cancer cell. But when people come to me and in my space that I'm holding, I have to say, and I've said it in the chat already, there's no one size that fits all. We are totally unique alchemy beings and energy. We're pure energy and light. So what frequency I'm in, tuning into is going to be so different from where you're at in this moment, and it's going to keep changing and changing. I also saw someone mention that they were listening to, I don't remember the name, sorry, at this time, mentioned that they're listening to one track that worked beautifully and then they had surgery and it couldn't go back to it, but then they went back to it and it was fine. So it's this constant flow. So to answer it bluntly, no, I don't think there's that one size fits all prescription pill of what's going to work. I think that's when we have to call ourselves back into our heart. What's tuning for us today? How is it different? And I always like to invite people to not take it so seriously. Be curious, be playful, and just find the fun within the curiosity, that childlike wonder, and continue to explore.
I think that following what Susie is saying, if we go back to the fact that music is emotion, and each emotion has a frequency. So if we are vibrating in a certain emotion, we might relate specifically to a specific music frequency, for example, or even song. It can be a song, it doesn't have to be a frequency. So I believe bringing awareness to our emotions, especially, and understanding what is the music I need at this point. Because, for example, even for Alzheimer, even for specific things, bringing specific music, specific songs, they can really support on healing, on recovering, on so many on creating good memories from specific things, especially when we associate a song to a specific moment. That can be really deep. So I will bring the emotional part from music. If we feel music, we are being emotional, we are being in some way empathic, and emotions are vibration, are frequencies also.
Anybody else?
Cory, chime in.
Okay, since I've been invoked, I'll invoke the Buddha, which is, yeah, we should never cling, right, to a conceptual framework that says this and not that, or whatever, right? That I agree with everyone that they're just two different modes of medicine. Sometimes an acute pill or surgery is the right intervention. Sometimes it's the preventative sense of cleansing our energy fields and cleansing our emotions by processing them and seeing them. And so I think clinging to one or the other is not the right approach. It is a both and. I'm on the prescriptive side just because I enjoy what science brings to the equation, that we know, that a certain frequency will help somebody with Alzheimer's is helpful, right? Because if they actually have that disease, we have, for the 40 hertz gamma frequency, there's like 10 studies, a large one going on in MIT that shows it prevents the buildup of the tau protein and the beta amyloid plaques. Like, wow, that's amazing that like sound can do that, or a frequency can do that. That's great. And you can also get some great benefits from an entire sound bath that doesn't hold any architecture that says we have to hit certain tones or frequencies. And I especially agree with the chakra idea that is a specific tone that activates a chakra. No, there's so much about the emotions moving through that work with the chakras, so much more, I think, than just a simple tone. So I just encourage everyone to play on both sides and to not stick to one or the other as this is the right way to do it.
Do you know, Cory, how in that study with the Alzheimer's, like how are they delivering that frequency? Like how is someone in the study experiencing that?
Yeah, there's two different modes. They do, well, three actually. There's one study just using direct impulse to brain using electrical impulses. There's also one that uses light, so flashing light at 40 hertz, and then repeating sound. It is one of the most agitating sounds you'll ever hear. If you search on YouTube, MIT Alzheimer's 40 hertz, you'll hear it, and it's like, it's agitating to your system. You don't want to listen to it, but you can feel your brain changing into a completely different state or mode of functioning that allegedly cleanses the brain. So there's a lot we don't understand about that, because it can be music that is completely irritating to our systems and yet acts as medicine. So I won't pretend to know why, you know, these things work. I just know that they do, and if they're proven out, then let's try it. You know?
I think that's true. And I think, Cory, what you said really resonated with people about playing on both sides. But also, I think if you're going to listen to something, just like everything, you should enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, stop listening to it. That's how I feel. Anyway, I cannot believe it's been an hour. That has gone by so fast. And this has been amazing. So I would love it if everybody could just share a little bit about what's the best way that we can all support each of you. And you can just feel free to unmute. You don't have to raise your hand.
I guess I'll start and just say thank you so much again, Melody and Violet, and everybody who joined us today to walk a little bit further into what healing means. And I think we had some amazing things that we got to reckon with today. I'm found on Inside Timer. I do a lot of prescriptive state changes. So if you're in pain or have a headache or whatever, then I have something that might benefit. And I'm doing a sound bath actually tonight at 7 o'clock for those who are kind of emotionally challenged by the election that happened in the United States. So I'm offering some support around that. And thank you so much again for inviting me.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that.
Nobody else wants to tell how they can be supported?
All right, I'll jump in. Thank you everyone for hosting and for being here with us. It's really great to be in this community again. For me, you can check out my my page here on Insight Timer. I have a lot of free tracks available for you in whatever way you're feeling, and feel free to reach out, and you can see on my teacher page where my website is, and feel free to go there if you'd like.
And not to pressure Susie, because I don't like to pressure people. Haha. Susie, we would love to see you doing your lives again on Insight Timer.
Thank you. This is a good opening to that invitation.
All right, who's next?
We
Did
have
Fátima
Zoom.
share yet?
We have Zoom
Okay.
awkwardness. We have, you know,
Who's gonna
who's gonna go?
And I was distracted because I was setting my house on fire. I'm like, why are my glasses so foggy? My incense was smoking up the house.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad you caught it. James, I think you were ready to go, right?
That's a good one. Well, as for me, I mean, I know, and I'm incredibly grateful to have known the success that the floating track has had, but I don't say this other than just being completely honest and trying not to be ego-based here, but I think I have a lot of stuff which is better than that on the platform. It just doesn't get listened to, and you know, there are various reasons for that, and I think we all know what they are. The publisher base has increased tremendously, logarithmically, and so have the number of works on the platform. So I don't know how to phrase it as a real request, but I know that we all have a lot of other works than our most popular one that we're very happy with and very proud of, and hope that listeners would receive the same benefit from those as they would from our most popular. So I don't know how we accomplish that, but I would love to have people listen to more of my stuff.
I think maybe if they go to your profile and just every day listen to one and come back the next day and listen to another, and you know,
Wow.
that way they can hear everything that you have to offer, which is a lot and all amazing. And you're right, you have a lot there. I mean, I think it's all great, but it helps me a lot. So thank you.
Well, thanks for saying that.
Wakes.
We have our page here as well with lots of great music, and a link to our website on our profile, like everybody else. We have a sound bath tomorrow.
We do. It's going to be very much in line, a nervous system regulating. We're not going to go into the super tense realm that sometimes we journey into to explore certain realms of emotion. We're going to really try to keep it very soothing after this week and nurturing and just peaceful. So we hope you'll join us. We're based in Washington State normally. We're in Krakow, Poland right now. So our times are a bit different. So if you're in North America, that's I think 10, 11, 12, it starts 10 Pacific. And then in Europe, starts at 7. And we have some premium, I would say for us too, like we have some premium tracks, and the premium and the new stuff don't get as many plays, and that would be cool. We have longer sound baths that are there if you want to explore our style of sound baths, which is really using singing and mantra. And then we have some in-person things coming up in the new year. So if you want to stay in touch, the link on our profile is the best way to learn more about us and stay in touch, and hope we get to do more of this together.
We did also just release along the same lines as Cory, election sanity saver pack of meditations, because I know that it's been an intense season for those of us that live in the U.S.
And we have our own app called the Wakes app, but that's a thing for our sound baths, like other expressions. So that's
And what
something
time
real
zone
too.
are you on? Someone just asked what your time zone is.
We're in Central European time right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to clarify, because a lot of people ask, Cory, your sound bath is 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight, and Wakes, yours is tomorrow at what time?
Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. Central European time.
Okay.
So depending where you are.
Thank you.
Well, I also have lives tomorrow. I usually have every 2 weeks on Monday. I do tuning fork group session where people can experience the vibration. And I also have a sound bath, usually every new moon or full moon. But tomorrow, because we have 11/11, I'm going to also have those 2 lives. I have on my Inside Timer page my website too, where people can get to know more about me or my name. And I also have my full album, Relaxing Piano Meditations, available for free here on Inside Timer. So I have both instrumental songs, piano songs, and guided meditations in Portuguese and English language. So you can find Candle Glare or any music from that album. It's a conversation between the piano and different environments. So I welcome everyone to listen and also just share that it's a lovely group that we have here. It's a wonderful energy. I was expecting us to jam in some way through our words and through our vibration. So it's really amazing, Melanie and Violet, the opportunity that you provide us, and also to connect with people. For example, Susie, that I know it's a friend from great friends of mine. And they were telling me this week, you need to see the page from Susie. And I was like, I'm going to be in a live with her. So beautiful how we connect and we create this mastermind moment. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Wakes. Catherine wants to know how long you guys are going to be in Poland.
We're here into the new year. So we will be back home in mid-January.
Okay, thank you. Pammy Sue asked if James is the creator of Floating. Yes. Your infamy.
And someone else asked James if you have a playlist.
Yeah, I have several. One of them is purely long play, extended play, meditative things. Another one is prayers.
And also Violet has,
Concept.
you have the playlist floating that
Oh,
many of
yes, that's it.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
many
Duh.
of us created.
I'm sorry. I was setting my house on fire. I got distracted. But yes, I created a playlist with tracks that were made with floating in the background, and you can find that in my teacher's profile. We did a collaboration. He shared his music. We're doing that with Wakes as well. And who else did we do it with? I know Blossom Violet. We're going to do one with her.
Wakes
Theory.
and Theory.
Yeah, I mentioned Wakes. I'm still waiting for my track to be approved because Insight Timer has gotten really slow.
We want that track. We have a playlist as well with those collaborations with the Dream Space track. So that's it's so cool to see the collaborations and co-creations. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you, everyone, for spending the afternoon with us.
Was that my cue, Melanie? My eyes are still burning, so I'm having trouble seeing.
And thank you to the 250 meditators.
I think you broke up a little, but I was saying that I'm sorry. That was my cue that we're done, and my eyes are still burning. So thank you all of you for joining us. This was awesome today. What a great conversation too. I feel like I learned so much from everything that everybody had to offer. And thank you to the teachers. Thank you to the community. And make sure you follow all of them if you're not already. And like I said before, you can find their links in my profile, and I will paste the names in here again. And we will be seeing you all soon. We're gonna end the live now. Whoops. Says I have a bad connection. Okay, that's a sign. All right. Oh, there we go. It caught up. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.